It is there. It's there. It's fine. Button. There you go. Hit refresh because it's live. Oh, glory. I don't know. Yep. Okay, I just sent it to your email. Go to the home page and put your email in. Did you change it in the? Just go to the home page and then go to your email. back to the hangout session. I'm not getting any audio at all.
Test, test, test,
What's up? What's up?
test, 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 testing, test, test.
Did you heard me? Oh, you can hear me. Yeah, I forgot. 7 seconds. So you have a computer. So listen. Now it just could have been cashing. Cashing. You got to check, make sure you have your weapons in this. What? No, make sure she won't run up on you. No, no, because you're the police officer. They're not in here. Oh, yeah, I see you grabbing your bag.
It was unanimous. And we're going to go to special recognitions.
Okay, board members, if you would please go around front, we'll recognize our students. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have a number of individuals we would like to recognize tonight. When I call your name, please come forward and allow the school board members to congratulate you. First, we have two very talented young men from the Transportation Academy at Central Academy of Technology and Arts. Both of these young men have won state titles and now will compete nationally. They won during the 49th Annual Skills USA North Carolina State Conference held in Greensboro in April against all other programs in the state of North Carolina. Pedro Franco, a Cata Jr., won first place in the automotive refinishing contest, while Zane Smith, a senior, won the automotive service contest. Both will now go on to compete in the Skills USA National Leadership and Skills Competition in Kansas City in June. Both CATA teachers, Roger Presley, the automotive instructor, and Terry Lindley, the collision repair instructor, say these students are positive not only for business but in the community as well. They are very proud of these students and the programs at their schools. And by the way, historically, winners from the collision program in previous Skills USA state competitions have won more than $750,000 worth of scholarships. We will be rooting for both of you young men. Please come forward, both of you. Here to support these young men are their parents, Lucina Hernandez and David and Shelley Smith, their teachers, Mr. Presley and Mr. Lindley, and their principal, Ms. Vicin. Let's give them a round of applause. Very happy to recognize this next individual, Ms. Jennifer Whitley, if you'll come forward. She was chosen just recently the 2014-15 Union County Public Schools Teacher of the Year. Ms. Whitley, a civics and world history teacher at Forest Hills High School, says she grew up at Forest Hills High School, not only because she graduated from there, but her mother was a teacher there also. After she graduated, she said she could not wait to get back there to teach. Her principal, Dr. Kevin Plew, said he is not surprised that she was chosen at this year's countywide Teacher of the Year competition, calling her the epitome of a teacher who lives the mission statement of his school, which is striving to make each child the best he or she can be and to reach the child's fullest potential. He says she works hard every day for every one of her children. For winning the countywide Teacher of the Year title, Ms. Whitley received $500 and a Teacher of the Year ring. The Union County Education Foundation also awarded her $1,000 for her personal use. Dr. Plew is here to support Ms. Whitley tonight, as well as her mother, Ms. Patsy Griffin, who, by the way, retired from teaching at Forest Hills High School in 2000, and not surprisingly, was also Union County Schools Teacher of the Year in 1991. What an amazing family tradition. There are 6 Union County schools that I would like to recognize tonight for being named model schools for the 2012-13 school year. These schools, 3 middle and 3 elementary, received the designation from the Department of Public Instruction for their efforts in intervention practices and establishing the social, culture, learning and teaching environment and individual behavior at their schools that the Department of Public Instruction feels is needed to achieve academic and social success for all students. Would the following principals and school staffs please come forward? Indian Trail Elementary Principal Candace Boatwright and teacher Erica Southard, who was responsible for gathering information at the school's effort. Sardis Elementary Principal Margaret Proctor. Shiloh Elementary Principal Scott Spencer and Assistant Principal Jennifer Aldridge. East Union Middle Assistant Principal Michelle Gray and teacher Ms. Julia Walters, who served on the Pride Committee in charge of this effort. Monroe Middle School Principal Dr. Mike Harvey, and Sun Valley Middle Principal Ms. Vicki Merritt, Assistant Principals Ms. Pascal Glenn, and Sun Valley Middle PBIS Lead Teacher Mr. Jeremy Evans. According to Department of Public Instruction, the North Carolina Positive Behavior Intervention and Support, simply called PBIS, when implemented fully, can help a school become more efficient and consistent with behavior management. It teaches preventative measures to decrease. I'm just going to wait. Just these two. Okay. Yeah, sure. I just quit because everybody was busy. This program teaches preventative measures to decrease unwanted behaviors in students and is designated to help students experience a shift in attention to more appropriate behaviors. Teachers are said to witness a positive climate and philosophy change among their students. Congratulations to these 6 schools for going the extra mile in their efforts to bring positive impacts to their schools' climates. Let's applaud them. One more. Awesome. Thank you. One more. This year, we are also very proud to announce that we had a total of 12 band students across the county to make the All-State Band. Getting this distinction is not easy. Students must prepare scales, solo, and sight read on individual musical instruments. They compete with students at a district level, and then the top third go on to compete with the top individuals on their instruments to make the All-State Band. There are 3 All-State bands. These are middle school All-State, 9th and 10th grade All-State, and 11th and 12th grade. We will recognize the middle school All-State band members first. When I call your name, I'd like for you to come forward with your band director so we can recognize you. Middle school, Sarah Austin from Cuthbertson Middle, Ashley Monahan from Cuthbertson Middle, Abby Dewey from Marvin Ridge Middle, Megan Zong from Marvin Ridge Middle. Those are our middle school students. Let's give them a round of applause. High school students include Kyle Johnson from Central Academy, Phillips Clark, Cuthbertson High School, Ben Laramie, Cuthbertson High School, Kevin Moransky, Cuthbertson High, Rebecca Mulligan, Parkwood High, Chris Moser, Piedmont High, Mitchell Davis, Porter Ridge High, and Max Robbins, Weddington High School. And if you're let's give them a round of applause. Also, if you're a parent, a family member, a principal, or a teacher of one of these fine students, would you please stand and be recognized? And board members, this concludes our special recognition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, we're going to move on to our public comments section. 30 minutes has been allotted for public comments. Community members wishing to speak during public comments should state their name, address, phone number prior to making other comments. The board will not hear in open session complaints about the performance of school personnel, personnel issues, confidential student issues. Individuals may address the board for a maximum of 3 minutes. Any person who is representing a group may address the board for a maximum of 5 minutes. Should a community member wish to seek information or share items that may not be shared during public comments, our deputy superintendents are available to address your concerns or provide information. Our deputy superintendents will stand as I introduce them, please. Dr. David Clark, Deputy Superintendent of Human Resources. Thank you, sir. And Dr. Mike Webb, Deputy Superintendent of Instructional Technology and Operations. Thank you, sir. So first we have Barbara Falk, Union County Community Arts Council.
Thank you very much. I get to come see y'all once a year, and I appreciate you allowing me to come. I want to come to thank you collectively and individually for the support you've shown to the Union County Community Arts Council for 27 years, since 1987. We have worked in a partnership with the schools. I want to briefly update you. I won't take even 3 minutes, I don't think. We initiated that partnership with you in 1987 for the purpose of working to our very, very best to offer cultural arts opportunities to every student in Union County. When we first started, we had about 18,000 students, I think, and certainly that's changed today. It's the largest program that the council provides. Our arts and education focus is by far the most important thing we do. It's the most diverse thing we do, and with the cooperation of you, with the principals, with the staff, and with teachers all through the system, we have an awesome program with the school system, and we just appreciate more than you know. We have a strong planning process. It's already started for next year. I'll begin to make phone calls before this year is finished to start setting up programs for next year. And we really put an emphasis on social and educational requirements of every student. We equally serve this county. We serve all schools, north, south, east, and west. What we do in one elementary school, we do in every elementary school, as well as in every middle school and every high school. I'll be happy to give you a list of the programs and the services we provide if you want them, or testimonials and evaluations that have come from students and teachers throughout the past year. Just this year alone, we have served every elementary school in the county with 3 presentations, with 3 various arts programs that are not just sit down and entertain them for 30 or 45 minutes. They're educational. They deal with social issues. They deal with many, many issues that the students are faced with today. We served all middle schools with 2 presentations. They all fit North Carolina curriculum guidelines and plan to enhance the curriculum standards of the system. In addition to that, we just completed our Union County Student Artist Showcase this past weekend at South Piedmont. We had over 650 art students to enter that show. We had 800 people to come through South Piedmont. And I wish that I had thought about it, but maybe next month, if we can, we'll bring the winners, the best of show winners, and honor them, because that's an incredible undertaking that those students, and a strong competition. But every elementary school sent work in, and we considered every elementary school student to be a winner, and in the middle and high schools were competitions. We have strongly supported the Union County Performance Ensemble this year with funding. We also strongly supported CATA. We gave CATA funds to purchase a soundboard. We gave CATA funds and the Union County Performance Ensemble funds to attend the Southeastern Theater Conference in Mobile, Alabama, where you all know they just walked away with everything. That theater group is incredible. We just completed a preschool experience for our preschoolers who will be starting school next year. We had 1,000 students at Wingate University for a very clever educational program for those little ones. I don't think you can start too soon for them to understand and appreciate the arts. We support the Very Special Arts Festival with funding. We supported Shrek. We were on the ground floor with the Union County Performance Ensemble 15 years ago. We do the Dance Chance program for the Benton Heights Elementary School of the Arts. And we also do the Shakespeare recitation competition. In addition to that, we offer grant opportunities to every single school in the county, up to $500 for what they want to do in their particular schools. This year, we helped purchase drums, violins, paid for some class instruction, clay for clay classes or pottery classes. A total of 12 schools requested funds this year, and 12 schools were granted funds this year. I'm pleased to inform you that all of what we do, we're bringing the community more involved in everything that we try to do. The Performance Ensemble, the Very Special Arts Festival, I could go on and on. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to update you. It's always a pleasure to come. You're all friends of ours, and I'll be happy in my 30 seconds to answer any questions that you might have or hear any comments. But we really appreciate the opportunity to work with you. And well, you know, when we started this, little children weren't even born yet, and now they're all through college and having their own children. So I've been here a long, long time, but it's made a difference, I think, to see what happened.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next will be Gil Spears.
Good evening. My name is Gil Spears. I live at 14325 North Ridge Drive, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28269. And my phone number is 704-906-3481. I am both a proud UCPS school teacher who has had the pleasure of teaching math and currently teaching science at Sun Valley Middle School, as well as co-president of the Union County Association of Educators. I bring special greetings during this week that is set aside to acknowledge the amazing work of public educators throughout our system, state, and country. Our local organization is as busy as ever. First, we want to announce the winner of this year's scholarship is Paige Burchard at Cata High School, who will be majoring in elementary education at Appalachian State University this fall. This $1,750 scholarship is co-sponsored by UCAE and the Union County Retired School Personnel. We wish her much success. Of course, those of us who are already in the profession know that along with the rewards, there are also many challenges. It is for that reason that we continue to stay alert to public policy and the decisions that are being made to, for, and about us at the North Carolina General Assembly and on Capitol Hill in Washington. We are vigorous in our efforts and want to invite you and other public education stakeholders to join in on the following advocacy efforts. Thank you once again for being among the more than 50 North Carolina school systems who have participated in the Decline to Sign campaign, either by writing and sending forth a resolution or by participating with other related actions. Now the NCAE is proud to announce its newest campaign. We call it We Heart Public Schools, and it will bring teachers, parents, students, the media, legislative incumbents, and candidates together to talk about solutions to some of the most pressing problems our public schools currently face. We have launched a new petition that we want teachers to bring to legislative candidates and encourage their communities to support those who make a commitment to public schools. I invite those in attendance here tonight to participate by completing it online. Local association leaders will be combining all the petition signatures that have been collected statewide and presenting them to Senate President Pro Tem Phil Berger, Speaker of the House Tom Tillis, and Governor McCrory on May 14th. For the current legislators, May 14th will be the opening day of the 2014 legislative short session. For pro-public education advocates, including school board members, superintendents, school staff members, parents, and community members, it will be a day of action. Some local educators will take a personal day in order to travel to Jones Street in Raleigh to stand up for their students and their profession. Others will join following school dismissal. And as with the Educator Moral Monday rally held on a Monday last July, all will make the return trip from Raleigh back to their classrooms Thursday morning. That is the dedication with which we serve our children and our school system. Can't get to Raleigh on May 14th? No worries. We have a closer way to demonstrate support. Join the cluster of local NCAE units who will be co-sponsoring a rally to support public education on Saturday, May 10th at Marshall Park in Charlotte from 12 noon to 2 p.m. There will be games, entertainment, speeches, and a march. So bring those signs, and as always, wear red for public ed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is Jill Janes.
Good evening. I'm Jill Janes. I reside at 8504 Viking Drive. My contact number is 704-843-5263. With the recent approval of the redistricting plan with the amendment to place Millbridge in its entirety into the Cuthbertson cluster, Valhalla Farms has questions and concerns about the impact this will have on our, 13 students. We would like to address those with you tonight. Valhalla Farms with 13 students was one of only 2 subdivisions placed into the Cuthbertson cluster. While our 13 students have no impact on the capacities of schools, conversely, the redistricting plan will have an even more dramatic impact on them now. Here is why we believe this is the case. Based on approved development by the Waxhaw Commission over recent months, Millbridge and many other neighborhoods, including Lawson, Inverness on Providence, and others, continue to add significant development. There are currently over 600 homes approved for Millbridge alone. This growth will greatly impact Cuthbertson schools, necessitating redistricting within 3 to 5 years. This will likely result in the need to move Valhalla Farms students back into the Marvin Ridge cluster. Valhalla Farms, since the 1970s, has never had an impact on the overcrowding of schools, and yet has been redistricted multiple times. Our 13 students do not and will not affect in any way the capacities in the Marvin Ridge cluster. With some of our students graduating next year, and with rising juniors this year, the numbers of students in our neighborhood will drop to single digits in the coming years. In the past, a redistricting of 2007, a previous Board of Education voted to allow Valhalla Farms to remain in the Marvin Ridge cluster after a review of the facts. The circumstances then are very similar to those you face today. We believe that that board's decision was based on our history of a low student population, very efficient transportation routes, and our proximity to Marvin Ridge schools, all of which are located within 1.5 miles of our home. Our residents regard both clusters as having excellent schools, but our question is why Newtown Elementary would be the elementary school assigned for 4 elementary age students. Newtown Elementary is 5.8 miles from our homes and necessitates buses crossing heavily trafficked Providence Road at peak traffic times and without the assistance of traffic lights at intersections. By contrast, there are 3 elementary schools within a few miles of our homes. These include Sandy Ridge, Marvin, and Rayview Elementary, all of which are west of Providence Road and closer in mileage to Valhalla Farms than Newtown Elementary. We recognize that overcrowding necessitates shifting of student populations. However, neither Marvin or Rayview Elementary had any adjustments made to their populations and remain well under capacity with downward projections through 2019 per the UCPS cluster data. The amended vote for redistricting provides an opportunity for the school administration and you, the Board of Education, to revisit the impact that this decision will have on the 13 students in Valhalla Farms now and in the coming 3 to 5 years. We believe that once reviewed, you will come to the same conclusion and precedent set by the previous board's decision to leave Valhalla Farms in the Marvin Ridge cluster. Doing so allows for stability for our students, requires no changes to current safe and efficient bus routes, and continues community continuity with schools. We believe Union County Public Schools and Valhalla Farms students are best served by remaining in the Marvin Ridge cluster, and as such, ask you to allow our 13 students to remain there. Thank you for your time and careful consideration of these concerns. I'll add too that we provided some additional information for you tonight. We hope that you'll review that. And if you have any questions, we're available to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. James. Mark Wesley. Is Mark Wesley here? We're going to move on to Mara McKinnon.
Good evening. My name is Maura McKinnon, and I reside at 809 Circle Trace Road with my husband and 3 children. I'm a North Carolina teacher, and I am ashamed. You might think I'm ashamed because it looks like I won't get another raise again next year. That's not it. You might think I'm ashamed because of the mess of Common Core. That's not it. I actually happen to believe in a more rigorous curriculum, just not all the standardized testing. I entered this profession to make a difference in the lives of the students I teach. I love seeing the spark in their eyes when they have that aha moment. Nothing is more powerful than instilling the passion to become lifelong readers and learners. Students pass through my doors and become my kids. I keep in touch with them through college, attend weddings, and watch in awe as they become parents themselves. I wouldn't change a thing about this. Now you may be wondering what I'm ashamed of. I am ashamed of the actions of this current administration and this Board of Education. I've been watching all of this through the eyes of a teacher, and my heart breaks for our children and their families. And I'm not alone. I have spoken to many UCPS teachers about this. You are supposed to have the best interests of the children of Union County Public Schools in the forefront of your decisions. Moving children, this many children, hurts everyone, students, families, and teachers. And just when the teaching profession in North Carolina has hit rock bottom, you took a vote to harm all involved, students, families, and teachers. Let me tell you what I am most ashamed of. As I sat in the audience on March 4th, I witnessed each and every board member on stage, as well as the administration in the front rows, watch one of your own students be escorted out for voicing his concerns about your vote. I'm ashamed not one of you stood up to protect him that evening, and you haven't done so since. I encourage you to find the moral compass you had when you entered this profession or took your oath to stand up and do what's right for the children in Union County Public Schools. You seem to care more about test scores and money than you do people, and that is so terribly sad. Test scores will never define our children, ever. Whether it's backroom deals that are coming to light, the last race to the top grant you can still apply for, or attempting to raise test scores in some schools, it's you who should be ashamed. In case you were wondering, my administration, along with parents of my students, know I am involved in righting the wrong that has been done to our children in Union County. And they have been extremely supportive because they know my personal passion and commitment to students. I will do whatever it takes for the well-being of our children. Right now, your legacy will be that you moved almost 6,000 students in an unethical manner, whether to raise test scores, apply for that last race to the top grant, or partnering with developers by creating backdoor deals. What you should have been doing instead is working together with parents, teachers, and students of this great county in providing education for the individual needs of the individual schools. Instead of providing quality programs for the schools and students that need it the most, you have created an atmosphere of mistrust and a flurry of for sale signs and resignations. This, unfortunately, is what you will be remembered for. And last point, for facilities director, to state that a new development, quote unquote, will improve the demographics of Waxhaw Elementary School is downright embarrassing.
Thank you, Ms. McKinnon. Susan Sullivan.
Susan Sullivan, 417 Ranelagh Drive, 704-516-6925. A couple of weeks ago, my 7th grader came home from school with a survey and a letter from Mr. Yurchek. This letter requested parents to give our feedback on how UCPS can better serve our students. Instead of completing that survey, I wrote a letter to Mr. Yurchek. Many parents have asked me to read that letter to you tonight. Dear Mr. Yurchek, a survey? Really, Richard, really? Do you honestly care about what the parents of Union County really think? As I look back over the events of the last 6 months, I have a very hard time believing that the Board of Education or the UCPS administration cares one bit about my child, not the educational welfare, the social considerations, or the physical safety of my child. The parents of Union County begged and pleaded with you not to uproot our children from their communities that they have built through hard work, relationship building, and massive personal investment. Yet you chose to divide our communities and assign them to other schools across the county. We asked for real opportunity to discuss alternatives with back and forth dialogue. We asked for a 1-year delay to search for real solutions. We asked for safety studies and traffic studies to be done to ensure our children will be safe. We asked for corrections to dividing lines to keep smaller communities in their schools. But instead, you continuously scheduled meetings at smaller and smaller venues that could not accommodate the crowds. You refused to answer all of the concerns that parents identified as we tried to vet out the appropriate alternatives, since you would not. You scheduled public comments with less than 48 hours notice to parents, many who could not attend as a result. You held a vote before adequate research was done to ensure moving 6,000 kids was the right thing to do. You held a vote and let a huge development stay, but only if they built a road. Appearances are everything, Mr. Yurchek. Looks like a developer is in someone's back pocket. So, now, you want to know what I think. I think that I have no respect for the current 6 members of the Board of Education that voted for the redistricting. I have no respect for the UCPS administration. You have violated all trust that I had in our educational system of our county. I am ashamed to say that I reside in Union County, but now that you have destroyed the equity in my home, I certainly can't sell my house and am stuck here to endure this nightmare that you have thrust upon us. I cannot comprehend how you can even sleep at night knowing what you have done to the people and children of this county. You missed an incredible opportunity to become a leader in innovation for growing school systems, but instead you took the path of doing the only thing this county has ever done, redistricting. That is not leadership, that is cowardice. I request that you, as board chair, resign from your position effective immediately. I ask that Dr. Ellis and Dr. Webb resign from their posts as well. I will, however, acknowledge one positive side effect that has occurred as a result of this mess. You have ignited a firestorm within the community, a firestorm that will bring change to Union County. You have brought us knowledge that there is a complete lack of leadership in the county and the Board of Education. It is a sad day for all the people of Union County. I can only hope that this change comes quickly so that the repairing of the broken faith in our system can begin. Sincerely, Susan Sullivan, parent, volunteer, and now apparently bus driver. In closing, the parents of Union County are not going to go away quietly and will continue to work for changes at the county government level as well as the Board of Education. We are tired of the backroom deals. Parents have asked for the establishment of a parent advisory board or committee to act as a liaison between the BOE, schools, parents, PTSO groups, and students. I ask that you endorse the establishment of this committee. The time is now. We must all work to address the inequity between East and West, build the trust that has been decimated by your actions, and improve the transparency of communications. It is time to lead this school system, not simply do what has always been done.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. That concludes public comments. Moving on to our consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. All in favor? Consent agenda is approved. Unanimous. All right, moving on to Microsoft Software Licensing 3-year agreement. Dr. Webb.
Good evening. It's that time, once again, to renew our Microsoft agreement. That's based upon our full-time employees, our FTE. Every 3 years, we'll come to you with that extension. And it's approximately about $283,000 for that 3-year period. Again, it's to cover the Microsoft licenses that we have for every full-time employee in Union County Public Schools. I'd ask that you approve that agreement with CDWG, which is one of our partners, at which we purchase our software through. And this has been approved through the Strategic Planning and Technology Committee. It is.
That's correct. It is coming from strategic planning, so if would like to move that we approve the Microsoft software licensing 3-year agreement.
All in favor? It was unanimous.
Thank you.
Mr. Karpinski, can you bring us up to speed on child nutrition price increase, please?
Good evening, board members. You have in your packets a recommendation from the staff to increase the child nutrition prices. We're recommending this on the backs of a mandated USDA, United States Department of Agriculture price increase. So we don't have a choice in the matter, but we have to get the board to approve any price adjustments. And this would increase prices for next year, effective technically July 1st. And I think the Finance Committee would like to mention where we need to go from here.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee discussed this and approved the child nutrition price increase. To the full board, we move that we approve the child nutrition price increase. Is there any discussion?
Any discussion? The one comment I've got to make is that this doesn't make me happy. This is a federally mandated deal, and if we had any control over this, we would do something different. So, I'm sorry. All in favor? Thank you, Mr. Kopinski. Thank you. Going to move on now to the superintendent proposed budget.
Board members, we bring the superintendent's budget to you per statute. It has been fully vetted multiple times through the Finance Committee, and we had a Finance Committee earlier today, and so I would turn it over to Mr. Karpinski and Mr. Guzman to go through this with the full board.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. I want to make sure that everybody received a hard copy of the first, I believe, 7 pages of the budget document, as well as a draft uniform budget. I believe Ms. Savage would be the one. Did you get one? And the draft of the larger one? Very good. I think everybody has it. And I'd like to work off of that to let you know that there have been changes since you received last Friday. This has been moving very rapidly, and what we've tried to do is keep up with legislation and things of that nature, as well as making sure that this document is done well, given the fact that we didn't receive our planning allotments until April 1st and then April 17th. So it's been a moving target, to say the least, and we've been trying to keep up with that, to include a change to the budget executive summary and message to citizens. Page 2, or excuse me, well, it's page 2, but it starts on the first page of the budget of executive summary and message to citizen. There was a change in the second paragraph to not refer to Common Core. It's stated a different way, but there was that change made, and the hard documents you have reflect that change. So if you could draw your attention to that second page in your hard document, second paragraph, that's the new wording from what you would have seen last Friday or on the weekend.
The next to last sentence of that paragraph.
So with that said, the rest of the budget executive summary is the same as it has been, and of course, at this point, it is the superintendent's proposal, and as such, Dr. Ellis has signed this. After tonight's presentation, it will become the Board of Education's proposed budget that can be tweaked until we send it to the county commissioners. We discussed in the Finance Committee that there may be some need to tweak. Let's say that the governor decides to change what his recommendation. Right now, our budget here is predicated on the fact that the governor is recommending a raise for teachers from 0 to 9 years experience, and we have heard that there may be some changes to that. If there are changes to that, the board would have to react fairly quickly to that so we can make that change before we submit it to the county, because that could be significant in terms of the dollars needed to pay for any additional raise if there might be one. So if there's no questions about the executive summary, I will move into the local current expense budget. As you all, I believe, are aware from looking at the document, it looks a little different than it has in the past, and the primary reason it has changed is we, of course, had the court proceedings this past summer, and page 4 starts with the 2013-14 jury verdict / judgment, and that represents $87 million, $87,233,000, and of course that is the amount that's been determined by the jury to be legally necessary, and it shall be conclusive. So that page starts with that as its starting point. There are some adds to it, just like there will be in the next 2 pages, but that brings you to an increase of 3.08 over the jury award, or $2,687,000, for a total of $89,920. If you move on to page 5, this budget starts in a different place. This budget starts with the 2013-14 county appropriation, including the true-up that we received this year, and that amount is the $83 million. As you proceed through the document, you see the proposed increases, such as the estimated local cost of the governor's proposed teacher pay increase. You see the system-wide banking fees, just like you did in the previous document. But then going further in, you see that we have increases to charter schools, and I believe that was on the first document, as well as local merit and or COLA pay, teacher supplements, principal supplement increases, and these are all to get us to the state average for these employee category groups. And it's not even the average for 13-14. We're going back with the only data we could get, which was for 12-13. So when we talk about getting our teacher supplements, our principal supplements, our assistant principal supplements, and our athletics supplements up, we're talking about getting them to the North Carolina state average for fiscal year 12-13. And then, of course, when you go down further, you'll see that you start with that 83 million. Once you add all that in, it comes to the same point of the 89,920 as you saw on page 4. So we're just, the starting point's different, the end point is the same. Any questions about the superintendent's proposal for local current expense?
On the statewide banking fees for an additional $36,000, did we or could we shop around to see if we could get those fees reduced?
It's difficult, and what I mean by that is it's like even your own checking account at home. You have so many transactions going through. Schools do all the banking. Right now we have only 2 schools that don't bank with the primary bank that we use. Everything else goes through one banking institution. what you can do is you can do an RFP, a request for proposal, or B, since it's a service, you can actually just change banks. And I'm working with my staff on a few different alternatives, one being implementing P cards, purchasing cards more, so that schools can go out and buy things without doing a purchase order, and possibly doing it without having to cut a check. A lot of the fees we get hit with are because we're getting charged per check. Another thing we can do to reduce these costs would be to bank at institutions that are closer. Some of the schools have to travel 8 miles to get to the nearest branch that our current primary institution has. Well, there's banks that are a mile or two down the road. A good example might be Weddington has banks that are, Weddington Middle and High has a bank down the street, or two banks, Wells Fargo and or Bank of America, that are a lot closer. So we may be able to mitigate this by just changing banks and or reducing the amount of travel fees incurred by bookkeepers. I'm looking to mitigate it, but until you do that, you got to plan for the worst case scenario, and that would be, per our current provider, we've been told, and I have it in writing, that it's going to cost us $36,000 more. I will make sure we get a better deal. Any other questions? The capital, if we could go to the capital section, and I prefer that you work off the document I provided you, because there's been a change to that document as well, and I didn't have time to actually get it in to Excel, but it was determined at the Finance Committee meeting that instead of saying capital outlay dash previously identified unmet needs determined by jury award, that's the only change that was made. And I don't know if Ms. Hodges wants to speak a little more about that, or that's what the committee decided.
I know, I'm sorry, I've been the one that's been really picky about this, and I've been inserting words and adding S's and commas and such, but I just, when it comes to that part of the budget, the capital outlay, I just think it's really important that we constantly reflect that we need the money that is due from the jury award, but that those previously identified needs have not been met yet. We are still waiting for that money to come in whatever form that it comes. And I also thought it was really important that we separate that amount from the rest of the proposal, and that's why it's subtotaled in two different sections the way that it is, so that when the county commission goes to read this, they realize that we still are requesting and expecting the balance of the jury award, in addition to what we also are needing for the 14-15 school year. So thank you for separating it out like that.
You're welcome. Any other questions about the capital proposal at this point? Okay, the next comment I would like to make, the Board and Finance Committee also wanted to have further clarification about maintenance and custodial expenses. We will update Exhibit G to reflect all the factors that impact that budget line item, and we will update Exhibit G accordingly. And at this point, the board can choose to make this budget your own at this point. And then we also talked about in the Finance Committee the possibility that, let's say the governor tomorrow or the next day decides to change something that impacts us locally. We may have to address that, but our window of opportunity to do so would be up until the 15th of May, when it's due to the county commissioners as per law. I would agree with that. I think bottom line is they're expecting our budget on May 15th, which is the legal time frame by which we have to give it to them. I think if we give them anything after the 15th, it might fall on deaf ears no matter what, whether it's our.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if we have updates, we'll send them updates. We'll keep them up to speed, and then it'll be in their court to decide what they're going to do with it at that point in time. So. Right. Agreed, but that's we're stuck with that. Until the governor and the state legislature gives us our numbers sooner. So.
Yeah, and I know the board has heard this, but we got our first state planning allotment this year, April 1st. And then we got our second state planning allotment on April 17th.
And we historically get them when?
Historically, we get them the week of February 14th or thereabouts. Last year, we got them the week after that. But historically, it's been, we'd get them in Greensboro at the conference my staff and I attend. So it's been an interesting budget year. We believe we have the essential request that is representative of what we know right now. We hope that we got it right, and I feel confident in what we have, but we don't know what we don't know, such as something that might happen between now and May 15th, or B, after the 15th, and that has happened to us. Last time we did get a raise, we didn't know about it until July, and we were stuck. There's just no way out of that.
That was to the tune of about $334,000, if I remember correctly. And we did ask the county to fund that, and they declined.
I think we add to our board message, our message to the community, the kind of some of the caveats and constraints that we're dealing with, so that it is there that that we're working with numbers that are soft.
We have a hard number in here for a particular line item. The governor changes that hard number, something other than what we got. Say if we've got a raise in there, 1%. The governor changes it to 1.5%. That would necessitate us coming back to vote on it. But if it's a hard number, it's going to change regardless. Is there any way we can make a motion to allow superintendent finance officer to make that change at this point without us coming back to meet again between now and the 15th for a hard number?
My recommendation is to me.
So we will.
We did discuss that in finance, and that was a question: can we adopt a qualified budget? And we decided to go ahead and adopt the budget as is and tweak it. If we have to reconvene, that's a problem.
Any other discussion?
No, I was going to say this is just that. So we may need to come back between now and the 15th to make revisions. But at this point, if there are
There's no other discussions.
discussion,
The motion's coming out of.
the motion came out of finance to approve, so I bring it to the full board and move that the full board adopt the superintendent's proposed budget as the board's budget.
All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Kropinski. Don't go anywhere. Financial report as of March 31st, 2014.
Very good then. You have in your packets, and up on the screen, we have the revenue expenditure report as of March 31st. As you know, we have provided the county with our data as of February 28th, February 29th, excuse me, and we want to make sure that whatever we might provide to the county, we want to make sure that you all see it first in committee, and then of course to the board itself. But essentially, what we have here is the state fund, and our budget for the state fund is right at $202 million, of which we spent about 77%. At this point in time, we're talking about we should be right at about 75% or thereabouts, and therefore we would be in a position where that 77% is at a good point to take us through the rest of the year. Not a whole lot of discussion other than we're spending state funds the way they're intended to be spent as per the uniform budget format, and we don't see any problem spending all of it. First of all, that's never a problem. What could happen is sometimes we overspend it in the first 10, 11, or 12th month, then we got to cover with local. So that's something that we've done for years and is acceptable. Main thing is you don't leave state dollars on the table. The next budget that we'll discuss is the local fund. At this point, we're at 72% of revenues, 73% of revenues brought in, and we spent right at 72. Like I said, in the finance committee, essentially, if there is an overspending in any area or any fund, you will have to pick up the tab here. A good example is the child nutrition fund. They can't pay for write-offs, if you will, children that don't pay and we got to pay for. Well, we got to pick up that tab. So anytime that there are any overage in any other fund, this is where it falls. So that's the catch-all, if you will. But also we all have all the expenditures going through the state budget as well. And at this point, a budget of $86.6 million, we spent 62.2, right on target. That fund right now shows a revenues greater than expenditures at 776, but that should change by the end of the year, potentially positive or negative, depending on what's going on in all the other funds. The federal grants fund, federal grants are funds that come in and go out. It's basically warrants. We can't spend federal money without having the money there. Essentially, it's a spend it and the government covers it immediately. One of the nuances to this particular budget is the unbudgeted funds. You have 27-month funds. The federal government gives you overlapping grants. So you have a 27-month grant remaining, you have a 15-month grant remaining, and you have a 3-month grant remaining every fiscal year. Therein lies the reason for that $2 million in unbudgeted funds. That's not saying that you don't need it. It's saying that you don't need it for this year, but it does carry over for the next 15 months or 3 months, depending on what part the grant's in. Yes, sir. That would look like, well, what are you doing with all that unbudgeted money? Well, we have to save it for the next 15 months in this particular case. Capital Outlay Fund, as most people are aware, we received a lot of our dollars late this year. There are a lot of contracts in the hopper. As soon as those contracts, in fact, I should say the Board of Education adopted many contracts in the consent agenda. Those will be encumbered, and then once they're encumbered, they'll become part of the actual encumbered column. But as we discussed in the Finance Committee, it takes quite some time to let a contract. You have to do the drawings, you have to have the architects, engineers do their work, and then it has to go out to bid. So the other caveat to the capital program here is that a lot of the work will be done when the children leave for the year. So we do a lot of work in late June, certainly July and August before the children come back to school, August 25th or thereabouts, 18th maybe. So with that said, that's the capital fund unless there's questions there. Child Nutrition Fund and After School Program, both of these are enterprise funds. And what that means is they're run like a business. And the goal here is to break even. As you can see at this point in time, we're running at a loss in child nutrition. We feel confident that we should just about break even in child nutrition. Of course, with the ever increasing nutrition standards and the USDA involved, we're going to have to, one, raise prices next year, which will hopefully offset the additional cost of more nutritious food. The difficulty with that is sometimes children don't like to eat the most nutritious foods because they're not used to it. When you take the sugar out, when you take the salt out, they don't necessarily like the taste of it. So sometimes you go backwards in terms of sales, unfortunately, but it's where we're headed, and we feel confident this year we should be near break even by the end of the year. Yes.
Do we participate in the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act?
Yes, I don't.
So, is that, it helps?
There are many programs going on. That particular program, are you talking about the one where you have to provide more nutritious meals, or are you talking about the one where we're trying to get nutritious breakfasts
Lunch
to
and
children?
breakfast
Right.
for free.
Yeah, we, when at all possible, try to implement these programs. Of course, implementing the programs is not always easy, but my goal when I started working with this program was to do everything we could to get the most nutritious meals in front of our children. And it's cultural change over years. I think since World War II, we became a country that liked processed foods. I mean, and then now swinging the pendulum back to more healthy foods is not as easy as it sounds. In fact, not only do we have problems getting our values where they need to be, but companies have problems providing us food that meets these standards. So the answer to your question is yes. When we see an opportunity where we can put a program in place that provides the most nutritious meals to students, we're all over it.
My concern is that child is sitting at a desk hungry.
Absolutely, and that should never happen. The main thing is to provide a source of nutrients, because a child that doesn't have nutrients in their body can't learn. And I think study after study shows that if you do eat breakfast, it is one mechanism that helps you learn better.
Are there other, I know you and I were kind of talking about it before. I mean, I know it's like the farm to table program. Are there other any grants or anything that we can kind of, that's out there to help offset some of this?
I personally can't tell you about all the grants that we're involved in and what we're going after. Ms. Lamar, of course, is the Child Nutrition Program Director that manages the program, and she's knee-deep in looking at all the different ways to provide, programs for the children. Problem is, depends on what school you're at. If you provide a meal that doesn't taste good, no one wants to eat it. So even, if you can give anybody something free, but if they don't want to eat it, that's a problem because they're throwing it out. Or B, if you provide a quote-unquote nutritious meal to a child that has everything, they're not going to eat it. I mean, some of our most upside-down schools are more affluent schools. So there's a lot of challenges, and like this increase in prices, for instance, that we just had the board approve because it was mandated. Well, every time you increase prices, you see a decrease in the amount of people buying it. So you're always trying to tweak it to get it break even, and also at the same time trying to raise the bar in terms of nutritional standards. And that's a very fine balancing act.
One thing we did discuss in finance too, one of the ramifications with these nutritional standards are a financial impact to the a la carte menu, which is really, we don't really make money with it. It generates revenue. And, you know, you're seeing a backlash not only here, but across the state and the nation as well. A lot of students really don't like what's being served for lunch. I think it's another case of overburdensome regulation by the federal government. So as I did in Finance Committee, I would encourage everybody on this board and everybody sitting in the audience tonight to contact Mr. Pittenger, Mr. Hudson, Senator Hagan, Senator Burr, and I think it's time that they throttle back the federal government in our lunchrooms. We can provide nutritious lunches, but the pendulum's swinging too far, too fast. And number one, if it's going to hurt us financially, that's bad. But what's even worse is when we have children that aren't going to be eating. A lot of kids, the best meal they have a day are the meals are served at school. And to close the door on that or hinder that is a disgrace. So I encourage everybody to make your sentiments known.
After-school program is, at this point, revenues are greater than expenditures. We are happy that that program's still in the black, even though we've had made a decision earlier in the year to put certified teachers at all locations. I believe all 27 locations do have a certified teacher on staff, help Johnny or Susie with their homework, and or provide tutorial if need be, or if they would like it. Every school has a different type of program, but the point is, the after-school program is providing that service as an add-on to being an after-school program without it up until this year. So we're proud of that, and we're still in the black at $71,000 at this point.
Mr. Kapinski, what's our star rating on our programs, or our after-school program?
Our star rating is 5-star in every location except for one, like I reported last board meeting. So I was accurate last time, and I think it's only one that's missing it. They have one of them has 4 stars.
Thank you.
And the final budget is a special or specific revenue fund, and that fund is pretty much for at-risk or non-general K-12 populations. Essentially, all the funds that come in here either are restricted or come from things like indirect cost. Big contributor to this fund is the pre-K dollars we receive for children in school prior to kindergarten, your pre-K programs. And essentially, as you can see, we're doing well in terms of spending. We're spending less than the budget suggests we should at this point. However, that money would carry forward. The caveat to it is it has to be spent. It has to be spent on those at-risk and/or non-general K-12 type students. So we do know in that fund we do have dollars that will carry over, but some of the funds are one-time funds, so you can't fund a perpetual expense or expenditure with a one-time source, and that's kind of the issue at hand right now. When this fund was created, money went into it, and now we're going to see over time a spending down of those dollars. So with that said, our entire budget is $357 million, of which at this point revenues are greater than expenditures at $745,000. And unless there's any questions, that's the quarter report as of March 31st.
All right, we're good. Thank you, Mr. Karpinski.
And if I could just follow up with saying that this will be provided to the county in whatever format they would like it to suit their needs. That suits the board.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 12, read to achieve update. Dr. Jones, Mrs. White, Mrs. McNeely, Dr. McNeely, Ms. McNeely Sowell.
Good evening, Board of Education members. Our item tonight is to give you an update regarding implementation of the Read to Achieve Act in Union County Public Schools. As you have been aware all year and have assisted us, just a reminder that Read to Achieve, of course, is the North Carolina law that outlines the statutory requirements for students meeting promotion standards in grade 3. And specifically, that students in grade 3, in order to be promoted, must demonstrate proficiency in reading. And it's different from some acts and some initiatives that say students must pass. It says students must be proficient. And there are proficiency ratings that we have within the assessments. You have assisted us in the process. We have made modifications during the year, thanks to your support regarding alternative assessments. Those are in process. We have those in place, as well as other assessments, in giving students every opportunity to be able to demonstrate proficiency. But like anything else at the state, we have ongoing changes. And with the short session that is this next week, who knows, we may anticipate more changes. But our teachers and our principals, as well as our parents, are supporting students in those changes. So tonight, and as far as meeting the goal with proficiency in reading. So tonight, our Chief Accountability Officer, Ms. Carolyn White, our Interim Director of Elementary Education, Ms. Jane McNeely Sowell, and I will update you on our process thus far, and as we head into the end of the year, what we are doing in interpreting and applying the law in Union County Public Schools.
The law that was passed last July said that every third grade student would be proficient in reading by the end of the school year, and we will stop social promotion. I've heard that before, but that's not the point. So then they begin to think about, well, what do we need to do in case everybody doesn't pass the test? So we got a portfolio about this thick with short tests that students could take. And you could give them 3 a week, and if they passed enough of those, then they would have passed enough they could pass it, in place of the test. Well, it was an actual in-grade test, and so therefore students had not been assessed on a lot of the material, so they weren't doing real well. So then the superintendents got together, and they went to DPI and the state board and everywhere else, and they came up and they said, okay, if a system comes up with your own plan and it got passed, you could use your alternative portfolio, which we did. And if you look at this, it tells you we submitted our proposal, which you signed, and that we could use what we use class-based assessments, and it addresses the 12 instructional standards that are offered to the students. So class-based is something we've been using for a long time in middle and high school. So what's going to happen this year, the last 10 days of school, students are going to take the reading, along with other things, the reading EOG. Get the scores back. If they don't pass, then they have the opportunity to take what we call the Read to Achieve. The Read to Achieve is still an integrated test, but the difference is it's chunked. So it's in smaller pieces when you take it at the end of the year. So students should do better on that if they didn't pass the first test. Then they'll get those scores back. Then if you're not proficient on that, we can, if parents request it, then we can allow students to take the Ready EOG a second time, like they took the very first test, but if I took the form B, I then take the form C. So you actually, if they request it, they have 3 opportunities to actually take a test in the last 10 days of school, and if they don't pass them, then they're supposed to go, or give them an opportunity to go to summer camp. Well, there are some things, if you don't pass it, it's called a good cause exemption, and with the good cause exemption, if you're a limited English proficient student, and you're in your first 2 years, and this doesn't say it, but you scored below a proficiency level on that, then you would have a good cause exemption, not have to take anything else in reading, and not have to go to summer camp. In addition to that, our students with disabilities that have an individual education plan, if they took the Extend 1, and that's mostly students like at Wolf, but there are students other places, or if they took the Extend 2, which is a shorter passages, 3 answers instead of 4. If they took that, then that's a good cause exemption. They don't have to take anything else. They're finished. They don't have to go to summer camp. If you have demonstrated proficiency either on the portfolio that DPI provided or the alternative portfolio that we developed and state approved, then you don't have to go to summer camp and you're all right. Or if you have been retained more than once in kindergarten through 3rd grade, you have a good cause exemption. So you either pass the test, you have 3 opportunities to pass the test, or you could have a good cause exemption, and those students would be okay, not be required to go to summer school, and everybody would be promoted to the 4th grade anyway, but they would have a 3rd grade label on it. So are there any questions about that?
If they take the test the last 10 days, because it's the Thursday and Friday after Memorial Day,
correct,
how are you going to be able to get the test scores back and do all the retests for these students in time? Okay, I know you do, but I just have to ask.
Everybody will bring the studies. We will score them that night or that Saturday, and Monday morning when they get to school, we'll fax them out confidentially to the schools. And as soon as we do, we will have printed a report over the weekend, and it will say, okay, here are Antiochs, and these are the names of the students who have not passed or do not have a good cause exemption, because we'll already have that information. So you've got 10 students left, and then they pick up their books that day. I got it all figured out.
One thing is that these tests, we can score locally in-house in a locked room. We can score those as opposed to having to send them to Raleigh or to be sent to someplace in Iowa or wherever.
All of it's done in office.
Just a concern since testing is so close to the end of the school year this year, where in the past it's been closer to the middle of May.
Which is also a law that we had to test the last 10 days
right,
or the last 5 days. But we can do it. Have all the confidence. Are any other questions?
Thank you very much. I know, that's Ms. White.
Hi, I'm Jane McNeely-Sowell. One of the components of the Read to Achieve legislation is that we're required to have a summer reading camp for those students who are not proficient in reading. The law also states that summer camp must run for 24 days. We must provide 3.5 hours of instruction, 4 days a week. So that is what we're doing. Transportation is provided. We're going to serve a light breakfast and also lunch to the students that attend the summer reading camp. All right, curriculum instruction. Sorry. We're going to use research-based strategies through a focused reading intervention program for these struggling readers. And we chose the particular program that we're going to use because it's quickly implemented for the teachers who will have short amount of time for planning. It provides high interest material for our students, and it also provides opportunities for whole group and small group instruction and differentiation. So we feel like these materials are about the best that we could have chosen. The teachers will be trained in those materials prior to the beginning of summer reading camp. We currently have projected 6 sites for our summer reading camp. Benton Heights School of the Arts will be our year-round site. Fairview, Popland, Rock Rest, Rocky River, and Sandy Ridge. Currently, our projected numbers for these summer camp sites are comparable around the county. Site administrators will be selected for each of these sites. The students will attend the sites based on their 2013-2014 schools. We're currently taking applications for teacher applicants. There will be support for our exceptional children, and we're working with transportation with Mr. Kingsbury and Ms. Lamar in child nutrition. Any questions? Summer camp assessments. We'll use the reading portfolio that the students have worked on during the summer, personalized education plans, the PEPs, any end-of-grade data to help drive that instruction with our program that we're going to use. And then students will also be able to take that Read to Achieve assessment again at the end of summer reading camp. Any questions on that?
We have communicated with parents and stakeholders throughout the process, sending letters to the parents of students who have yet to demonstrate proficiency, who are working. Our parents are working with classroom teachers in conferences and looking at strategies to assist. Information sent from the schools as well as parent nights that have been held. So we have been presenting parents with information that is available to them. There is a question and a provision that is answered when parents ask, with the summer camp, is there a possibility that instead of a student attending summer reading camp, that we could have tutoring, that a parent may choose a private tutor or choose a vendor for a tutor? The state says that we can develop a plan locally. We have been working with that and are beginning to advertise what will be available. There will be a plan. It does have to be comparable in the number of hours that the student receives instruction that would be similar to the student who attended summer reading camp. The student would also need to come in and take the final Read to Achieve test at the end of summer camp. If they choose and it is approved, it has to be submitted in writing, and we'll have information available to parents, and that information is coming out for any parents that want to be responsible for the tutoring, and of course that would be at the cost of the parent. The actual budget that we have received or allocation from the state has provided an allocation for summer camp. Union County's, based on the number of students and projections, right now is $423,000. Or that does have to cover the cost of teachers, cost of curricula, and the cost of transportation, as well as other associated costs in putting on that program. We're trying to be very creative as possible and conservative with our funding, but that's the allocation that we have from the state at this time. We do have 2 calendars right now that we are proposing and are planning and have communicated with our parents. This could possibly change if this were to change in the short session. As Ms. McNeely-South stated, you must have 24 days of instruction throughout the summer according to the statute, and we have been true to the statute in Union County Public Schools. So we've been very consistent with that, but you must have 24 days, minimum of 3 hours a day. We will have 4 hours within our program. So for the traditional calendar, we will offer that June the 23rd through August the 7th, from 7:30 to 1 o'clock for staff members and 8 to 12 for students. We do have time off the 4th of July there, as well as this runs Monday through Thursday. We do not operate the program on Fridays, and that is within the statute. The year-round calendar is a little more condensed and pushed. They begin theirs with their teachers and students June the 12th, and then they finish and conclude the 23rd of July, just about a week ahead of scheduling. So Dr. Webb and his crew are working with us regarding turnaround of cleaning buildings. It will be a turnaround that is quick for our students. We are recruiting teachers at this time. We're allowing teachers, if they wish to job share, they don't want to actually instruct the entire summer. If they would like to work in partners, we're being flexible because we know that recruiting our teachers, as they are looking for some replenishment time and downtime this summer, we also want to make sure we give them the opportunity and flexibility. So we're working with our staffing there. But if there is a change and we're able to extend the day or work with the hours that will save money, and it is approved in the short session, then we will inform you of the changes, and we're ready to make adjustments there if it will save time as well as the time required for students. And then what does this mean for next year? Well, for next year, a student, of course, at the end of summer reading camp has the chance to take the Read to Achieve test. If the student passes that test, the student then is put into 4th grade. If the student does not pass the test, the student for the next year is clustered in a 3-4 setting, a kind of a transitional class that they call it from the state level. And we're working with our principals on this. But the student would be coded, according to statute, as a 3rd grader, but he or she would be in a 3-4 setting where the student is receiving 4th grade standards, is receiving 4th grade curricula, but there's reading intervention that's embedded where the student is at third grade level or whatever level the student needs. So the student will be with fourth grade standards. However, the student will be coded in our program, in our student management system as a third grader. In November, that student will be able to take, the student that did not score proficient will have another chance to take a mid-year Read to Achieve test. If the student passes the test in November, that student then continues in the class, but the code is changed to fourth grade for that student. A student that does not passes still keeps that third grade labeling within the system, but they continue with the reading intervention, they continue with the program, and then at the end of the year, the principal then has the opportunity to make a decision of placement for the student. So the principal does have that option. Under Read to Achieve in third grade, the principal does not have the authority to grade and classify. That's the only one due to statute, but the principal can at the end of fourth grade. In Union County, we still have reviews and accountability reviews and steps that we kept in place throughout the years. Even when it changed at the level, when gateway reviews, when all of that changed, we still kept those processes in place so that parents, teachers, administrators all had a chance to discuss the year's growth of the child and development. We will be communicating this with parents regarding coming into the next year. There is information that is available on DPI's website. They have a live binder site, and we have that up there. For those of you who may be watching and streaming, if you go to North Carolina DPI and type in Read to Achieve and look for the live binder, there are additional resources. Our principals, our parents, our teachers use this site. And again, that updates and changes on a regular basis. Questions or comments that we can answer?
Yes, Dr. Jones.
Yes.
The draft calendar for the traditional calendar, I think the final date was August 7th.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? If a parent should choose to use a private option, is there a end date where the private option has to be completed by? Is it August 7th? Or?
There isn't an end date, but it's equitable to the amount of hours, instructional hours.
Yeah.
They would need to create that, and that is in our agreement that we're getting approved. But what we're asking is that in tutoring, that what they invest in time with tutoring, with instructional hours, be the same as what our students would put in with our Read to Achieve summer camp.
But those hours don't have to be completed by a particular.
There will just a total number of hours. There will be nothing that we use to monitor that regarding days and specific times.
So with the hours though, because meals are provided for our students, we extended it an additional hour, correct? So do the parents that decide to go with private tutoring, can they go with the state of 3 hours, or do they have to go
That's
with
what we're
4
looking
hours?
at is the 3 hours. We're not including the time for lunch,
Okay.
and that's what we say is instructional time,
Okay.
which is really about
make
two
sure.
90-minute blocks with reading.
Okay.
It's about 2 many 90-minute. That is correct, and that, as we stated earlier, they do, though, after they finish the tutoring, they will have to come in and take the test on the assigned day that we have at the end of summer camp. So anyone that does the tutoring or takes advantage of the tutoring would have to come in and take the test. But the time that we have for meals, the time we have for students with brain breaks and all that, in tutoring, they would not be required to complete that. It would match the instructional time for reading. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
How many teachers have you had come forward so far to volunteer their services for the summer?
We did a count this morning with our elementary principals. Right now, we think we have 25 that have volunteered. 25? About 25 for traditional and 10 for the year-round. Now, some of those have said they want to teach together, so we are going to be advertising more and working with schools. Our teachers and our principals are communicating with one another, but those are our numbers as of today.
We're very lucky we have that, because there are other counties that they still cannot get a one volunteer.
Well, Dr. Ellis sent a group of us to a focus group to provide input from Union County. We had a principal, we had teachers and administrative staff that went, and a lot of the concerns and a lot of the areas that we're focused upon, we're hearing that in all of the counties. And a lot of the folks who were at that meeting shared a lot of the same sentiments.
We have great staff. All right, if there's no further questions, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 13, elementary handbook.
Hello again. So this is the time of the year. This is the time of the year that we provide each year we have our high school program of studies, which is approved by the board. We have our elementary curriculum guide that is approved by the board, and our middle school curriculum guide, which is approved by the board before we go to printing those and releasing to parents. You've already approved the program of studies, so tonight we have sent information to you regarding the primary, intermediate, or really our elementary curriculum guide, and then our middle school curriculum guide. The first group that we present are the elementary guides, and these guides go to parents, and they basically give parents basic information of what we are about as good readers, what we want our students to do as good readers, what we want our students to do as good writers, what we want our students to do as good mathematicians, and what we want our students to be able to know and do in science and social studies. We try to make these as basic as possible. They are the standards. They're not the curricula that we send. They are the standards in which we teach. We have not had any changes in the intermediate, which is grades 3 through 5 this year. Those remain the same. However, in the primary, K through 2, we did have some changes, and really it was more elaboration of the primary math standards, particularly looking at the mathematical practices, which talk about processes. What processes we want mathematics for students in kindergarten, first, and second. We really added depth to that. But those are the only changes that we made. We provided you a text copy, and then those will be sent to the communications office upon approval for publication. So we submit that to you. We have taken that through the Curriculum and Education Committee, where they approved these two documents. Are there any questions?
No questions? That's coming out of committee.
Yes, and it's already been vetted.
So, all in favor? Well, let's make an official motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the
Elementary.
thank you, the elementary education handbook.
All in favor? Unanimous. Moving on to the middle school handbook.
Thank you very much. The middle school handbook, back for that, our curriculum guide for our middle school. And of course, the higher the student moves, the more complex and detailed and options that are available. This year we present our curriculum guide in the same format, which looks at each of the areas in mathematics, language arts, science, and social studies in 6th grade through 7th and 8th, as well as world languages, career, technical education, and exploratory courses offered in middle school. We do have some changes. I outlined those on pages 10 and 11, and those focus upon Union County's emphasis in looking at My Size Fits Me, particularly with credit by demonstrated mastery, as well as looking at high school courses that students can take at the middle school level. We are continuing to emerge with your approval with offering those courses for students. So I'm asking our Director of Middle School Education, Dr. Laurel Healy, to come and explain those proposed changes.
Good evening. There are just a couple of things that I'd like to point out, again, on pages 10 and 11. We did add the information about credit by demonstrated mastery, which is available currently to our 8th graders for Math 1, English 2, and Biology. These are the courses where there are EOCs at the high school level, and our students are also eligible for that. We were careful to use the exact same wording and verbiage that's in the high school program of studies, so there would be no difference between what a parent would read in the high school book and the middle school book. So that is in there. And then while it is not new to our book, the information about high school courses that can be taken at the middle school level, we did the same thing. We made sure that our wording matched the high school program exactly, because over time we have had it worded one way and they've had it worded another way, and so we've worked to clean that up and get that taken care of. We will be adding the level 5 that is new for us to that wording and change that we'll make to it. Any questions about those items?
Thank you very much. Savage.
Middle school handbook.
All in favor? All in favor? It was unanimous. Moving on to item 15, our District 1 seat. Mr. Guzman, if you kind of give us a...
I'm going to give you a synopsis of
That'd be great.
bring us up to
Process.
speed on what's going on. Last month, the Board of Education meeting, the board approved the process for filling the District 1 seat. And we asked those individuals who were interested from District 1 to let it be known to the board that they were interested, and then we received letters and resumes from, I believe it was 7 individuals who expressed interest. And I must say that as the strategic planning committee went through those resumes, it was very encouraging to see so many very well-talented individuals who were willing to step up and serve in District 1. The Strategic Planning Committee took those resumes, and we got together and went through each one, and we decided what we would do is from the 7, we would narrow the field down to 2 individuals and bring that to the full board for consideration of filling District 1. Last month, during one of our work sessions, it was announced that we would be bringing forward the individuals being Pastor Jimmy Benson and Ms. Sharon Harrell as one of the 2 candidates that we would recommend to the board for consideration of District 1. So at this time, I'd like to open the conversation with the board. If anyone has any questions or discussions regarding these candidates, I know over the last couple of weeks, everyone's had the opportunity, I believe, to have individual phone calls or go over resumes further. But at this time, I open the floor to discussions and questions.
Microphone. And speak into it.
Mr. Chair, I would like to ask the record to reflect that I recuse myself from this vote for personal reasons that I will go into if you need to hear them.
Okay. We're good.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Savage.
I'd like to nominate Pastor Jimmy Benson to represent District 1.
I have a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? It was unanimous except for Mr. Collins's recusal. Congratulations to Pastor Benson. I'd like to thank all the 7 folks that applied from the pool of candidates that we had. We would have been well served by any of the folks that applied to take that seat. So, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 16, the superintendent's report.
Board members, this past month has been a very active one for staff. I continue to work with the Superintendent's Consortia. The 10 superintendents of the 10 largest districts encompass just shy of 50% of the students in North Carolina, and we meet on conference call most Tuesday mornings a little before 7 a.m. for an hour to an hour and a half, and we have banded together to work with our legislators on teacher compensation, the A through F grading scale, just any number of issues. Right now we're looking at reciprocity of degrees or of teaching certificates, because some districts find it very hard to find exceptional children teachers, and asking DPI to make some, maybe not some changes, but to increase the reciprocity among states. So we continue to work with that. Members of our group meet with the governor and some of our legislators and their staffs and the governor's liaison. So we continue to work for the children in these 10 largest districts, and in fact all the children. The Men of Valor program, I think I recognized Mr. Massoy Henry. last month, who works for Wingate University, and he and Wingate University and the NAACP and Union County Public Schools have worked with our Men of Valor program, and we're going to expand it to more high schools next year. But what we're trying to do, Mr. Henry's trying to do with our support, is to increase the number of minority young men who are college bound to help them. We have mentors at Wingate University. Wingate has a long-standing tradition of student scholars or student athletes who are also scholars. And I think I heard Mr. Poston say recently, and that's the athletic director down there, that they had for maybe 8 or 9 consecutive years topped the academic All-American with their athletes. So very strong program to work with our young people, and I salute those two parties who are working with this partnership to expand it again next year. We've had a flurry of superintendent regional meetings, and in fact we're having another this week, and this is for all of the upcoming changes coming to us through DPI or possibly through legislation to make sure superintendents are aware of the changes. On April the 24th, Monroe High School hosted a student diversity conference, and it was attended by students in all of our high schools. It was really an awe-inspiring thing to see because teachers and students tackled stigmas, they tackled perceptions, they tackled things that got in the way of people relating to other people, whether it be color, whether it be social stigma, whether it be something of birth, you name it. And I saw young people opening up to other young people from across the county and acting very adult-like. And by their words and their deeds, we're going to be in good shape the next generation with these young people. Also, I was fortunate to attend arts ribbon cutting for apartments for folks who have, a lot of these young people have come through the Union County Public Schools and are now living been in group homes or in different kinds of housing, and this is more of an independent lifestyle for them. I believe Mr. Yurchek is on the board of directors for the group, so I was pleased to be able to see that come to fruition. Ms. Melinda Plew has been working on this with a group of people for a long time, so kudos to her. Also met with our Professional Advisory Council of Teachers to talk with them. We meet 4 times a year to get their thoughts on things. They ask questions and we provide responses and have dialogue. The same thing with our Teacher Assistant Council. We met one day last week with them. Also recognized, or earlier tonight, we recognized our Teacher of the Year, Ms. Jennifer Whitley. That is always such a wonderful program with the teachers there at the program to honor them. I continue to work with Dean Ellen McIntyre and the University of North Carolina and at Charlotte with the proposal for master's degrees where teachers, the state has said through the legislature that teachers need to be more technologically savvy. In fact, they've added a requirement for teachers to have X number of hours in technology training, and our universities, by and large, are not meeting that need. So Dean McIntyre and Mr. Brad Breedlove and some of his staff, and we've gotten together and we've come up with an innovative master's degree program that we're asking for some funding from different sources to try a pilot of that at Monroe High School. And it will be one pilot in North Carolina that I believe can be a roadmap for all of the North Carolina flagship schools, the colleges and universities, because the master's degree in part, and here's a novel thought, instead of going to the university, the teachers teach in their classrooms and they teach their children with these 21st century and going on to close to 22nd century, the farther we go, skills, and they can receive up to 12 hours of their 36-hour master's degree in their classroom. And the rest of the degree is done distance learning. We have been working on this for about 6 months, and I believe that we will be able to report to you shortly. Dean McIntyre has pledged support for this. We're working through some folks in Raleigh to try to bring this to fruition, but I would love for this to be a way for our teachers to receive master's degrees for which they could be paid on, and it would make sense because children in the classroom would benefit. And I'm not looking at this for an only Monroe High School place, but we've got to do a pilot somewhere to gather the data to make sure it makes sense financially and first of all for children. So we're still working on that. Last night was our EOP banquet, and I'm happy to announce that Ms. Karen Fowler was our EOP of the year. That's Educational Office Personnel of the Year. And Mr. Scott Spencer, I think you'll remember him as principal up at Shiloh from the meeting up there a few months ago, was named Administrator of the Year, both very deserving. And today, just the icing on the cake today, got an email telling us that Mr. Brad Breedlove, who is the principal at Monroe High School, was named the North Carolina Principals and Assistant Principals Principal of the Year for North Carolina. And he will now go. Mr. Breedlove, stand up. I didn't know you were here, Mr. Breedlove. That was not planned. I didn't see you back there. But he will now go on to represent North Carolina in national competition, and that is quite an honor for Union County Public Schools and the children of Union County. And so, Mr. Chair, on that very positive note, I conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. Moving on to item number 17, board comments. Any board comments?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple quick things. We discussed it in facilities. I want to make the full board aware that the NCDPI PE came down and visited a couple schools today at our request, particularly Sun Valley and
Talking about an engineer?
Elementary, I believe, where the schools visited today, and their original observations and their findings will be coming forth in report soon, but all in all, they were very impressed with the condition of the building. They found no structural deficiencies, no problem with the roof structures, and they were quite complimentary to the facility staff and the work we've got going on. So glad to hear that's coming. They'll be coming back periodically to look at other schools, but we had an excellent visit with that engineer today. Also, I'm going to commend the facility staff for the work we've been doing on ADA, safety, security, and structural projects. We've got a plate full, and Don and his staff had the attitude. It's not can we do it, it's we're going to get it done, and I commend you for that. Also, Dr. Shelton Jeffries, just wanted to say congratulations, sir, on your doctorate, and also been hearing good things about the transportation department you're doing over there, employees, public as well, so I want to commend you for that. And wanted to say congratulations, Jimmy. Welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. Look forward to working with you.
Actually, our curriculum committee will meet on June 3rd for like this one. But most importantly, I want to say Happy Teacher Appreciation Week, and that's not just for teachers, but it's for the person that's had the unfortunate opportunity of cleaning up when a child has had an accident, or giving breakfast, or driving a bus, or even substituting, or being just a volunteer, or answering that phone. That's a labor. All those things, they're a labor of love. Thank you for what you do, because we have all entrusted our children to you. Thank you with most sincerity.
All right, I've got one. I saved this one for me. I wanted to congratulate Rob Jackson on his new gig at Eaton and Chowan as the superintendent of a wonderful school system, and they're going to be very lucky to have you. You have been a blessing to me over the last 16 months. And I will miss you, as well as Union County Public Schools, and this board will miss you. Thank you very much for all you've done. All right, so Marcy's made one comment on a curriculum meeting. Do we have any other announcements to make?
Facilities, May 27th at 8:30, Central Administrative Offices in the boardroom.
Why so late?
Hey, I abdicate 6:30 every time that you buck me.
Any other announcements? Okay, moving on to plus deltas. Okay, moving on to Mr. Collins's favorite motion. All in favor? Mrs. Savage had the second. It was unanimous. Thank you all very much, folks.
Thank you.